discussions with you. Moving on, we have another stalwart amongst us, Dr. Parag Patel. And Dr. Patel under Amrit Modi School of Management, Ahmedabad University. Professor Patel has 2 decades of extensive experience in teaching and research. He was the director of HR Institute of Commerce from 2014. Professor Patel involving education sector. The World Education Congress of June 2016, one of the 100 most influential directors of India in education. Professor for leadership, teamwork, and innovativeness as the chairman of Ahmedabad University and Academic Committee. So, a loud round of applause for these two gentlemen here with us on this Saturday morning to throw light on courses that will and very interestingly also about scholarships options with them. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of insight shared. Now, to get the best from this discussion, a great moderator is what is the most important and the crucial element. And that is Mr. Himanshu Dev. Mr. Dev is a higher education and career expert with experience and education in the USA, India, and the Middle East. Apart from consulting and training schools and universities, get the best universities, the best of scholarships. Through a unique, holistic, and miraculous approach to counseling, his students reached MIT, Harvard, Cornell, Columbia, UPenn, Chicago. Too long. He has benefited so many students all across the globe, and the best of their choice. Even in India, IITs, IIMs, ISB, and many others. Sir, you are a blessing to the students. We thank you for being with us. This cause of serving education, serving students, along with Ramnath International School. I extend a very warm welcome once again and for three of them. Thanks to all the participants for being here with us today.
Thank you,
Keep,
Dr. Jaya.
thank you, sir. I would like participants to keep themselves on mute. Also, if you have any questions during the sessions, kindly type them in the chat box and let us begin.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jaya. And I offer a grand welcome to Professor Patel and Professor Aparajith. Both of them are, of course, Dr. Jaya introduced them, but both of them are, are doing such good job by, solving so many things for students, solving so many things for other teachers, solving so many things for the industry to prepare students and professionals, as the way we want. So one unique thing about Ahmedabad University, and I was fortunate to enjoy their hospitality for a few days. So what I see is that, as I start talking about Ahmedabad University, I would say I would become the main speaker instead of offering the stage to both of these gentlemen. I have so many things to offer, but then, the amazing experience which Ahmedabad University gave me, puts a wide smile on my face and puts a light in my head, so it's so interesting. But then, of course, I would invite, both of them to give us a preview and
Right.
also a lead to what a student from Mumbai can look forward to. See, what we come from is that we are in Mumbai, and of course, we are obsessed with Mumbai a lot. We are at the biggest city of India, the commercial capital, and we think, and of course, Mumbai has given so much to each of us. So, why would a Mumbai student think about moving out of Mumbai first, because you have lived at other places as well. So I'm not just talking about Ahmedabad to start with. Why should a student think? And this is the time when, we got the results. Maharashtra board results are out, CBSE results are out. So we are talking about different things. Where should we go? The grade 12 students, grade 11 would be thinking, grade 10 would be thinking, what do we do? So talking from Mumbai, I would want to know from you, why should somebody think, or to put it strongly, why should somebody ever think it to move out of Mumbai? And then if they want to move out of Mumbai, why they should choose Ahmedabad? And if they choose Ahmedabad, why Ahmedabad University? So, Professor Aparajit, if you can take that question first, and then I move to Professor Patel.
Thank you. Please call me Aparajit, and I'm going to call you Himanshu and Parag, because I think it makes the conversation much easier. So let's do that, if that's okay with
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah. I thought maybe first 5 minutes I'll call Dr. Aparajit. so,
That's
so
fine.
in my next question would be to Aparajit.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, let me start by saying, I've lived in many cities in my not very long life, but slightly longer than the student's life. Um, and I grew up in mostly in Chennai, but also lived in Pune for a while. My parents lived in Mumbai when I was in college. In college, I was in a small town called Pilani. It's actually not even a town; it's a village in Rajasthan, where I was at the Birla Institute of Technology and Science. I've also lived abroad as a student in London and Oxford. I've lived in Bangalore, and now I've lived in Kozhikode in Kerala, and now I've lived in Ahmedabad. And I don't think life would have been as much fun had I, lived in one place throughout, even if it had been the best place, right? Because I think we carry little bits of our experiences from various phases of our life throughout with us, and those things come in not only very handy, but it makes us see new aspects about our own hometown or our own current place. And I think that it's absolutely essential, actually, for a student, firstly, to get away from home at some point, and secondly, to travel a little bit and experience different places. And I can say with certainty that I began to grow only when I went to other places. Even my field of study, being the history of Indian science and technology, in a sense, it was when I was living elsewhere that I was able to see things in a certain perspective. Right. So I think distance gives you new ideas, new perspectives. It clears your mind sometimes, and it's fun. It makes life interesting. I must also say that Ahmedabad, though it might seem like a small city compared to Mumbai today, for a historian, it predates the rise of Mumbai in importance. If you went back 800 years or 900 years, Ahmedabad was a huge center of trade and commerce. And Mumbai was what it has become in the last 400 years. So, these are some of the things. I mean, when you talk about a liberal education, the continuing influences of historical forces that shape a city, all of these things become very evident when we take our students through the markets and through the old city and so on. So this is just a glimpse of what I would say. I don't want to ramble on. Parag will also, I'm sure, have some great.
Sure. Yeah, Professor Parag, welcome here. And of
Yeah.
course,
So
yeah, I was fortunate to see you live in action at the campus. And, and of course, so many good things about Ahmedabad University as well. So to answer the first question, that why should a student in Mumbai think about, and again, how Aprajit put it, that how it helps to move around and how it helps to travel and experience different places. Because again, I being based in Mumbai, I talk to a lot of parents, and a lot of times, people would move from different places to Mumbai. And of course, you work on the area, of finance and management and stock markets and everything. Of course, Mumbai is the hub for that. So why would you want somebody to move away from Mumbai to get something and then maybe come back to Mumbai?
Okay. So thank you, Principal Jaya and Himanshu, for having me, and Aparajith. It feels happy to hear that you still cherish your experience of spending a couple of days in Ahmedabad with us. I must say that Himanshu is one of the most passionate person that I've seen, helping education decisions pan India. I've met hundreds of people over the last 1 decade or so. So I think it is an added advantage to have him in the conversation. Um,
Thanks a lot.
Coming to Ahmedabad and Ahmedabad University, you see, education landscape in India has tremendously changed at the turn of the century. Okay, so my schooling, my undergrad, my masters, my MPhil happened in the last century. 12 years ago, I was looking for uh, admission decision for my daughter. I had to put her in some school. So I did a very dispassionate survey and found that the top five schools in my time were no longer in the top 10 list in her time. So the decision of this century has to be taken based on the data point. So, 20 years ago, there was not a single private university. 20 years ago, there were no Cambridge or Ivy League schools that were common to have. But today, that's the most preferred place to study. So today we have 400 private universities, and about 30, 40 of them are really shaping up higher education in a very, very interesting manner. Okay, and their reference points and their benchmarks are global. They don't look at their local peers or national peers. If there is something great happening in US or UK or Singapore or China or Australia for that matter, they have tried to practice all the good things academically and about student learning and student development into their organization. Ahmedabad University is just one such organization or institution, I would say. I am not qualified to say what Aparajith has said, because most part of my life I have spent in the same city like you, Himanshu. So I don't have that, I'm not I missed that opportunity. So if somebody has to ask me that what is one thing that you wish to change from your past, I would say my undergrad away from my home. So
Okay.
this is one of the most important reasons for children in Mumbai to relocate for their undergraduate education to a good institution wherever it is. It could be Ahmedabad, it could be elsewhere. And UG education is very, very heavily dependent on the institution you go to. Okay, if you go to the right institution, you build adequate breadth, you are able to find your areas of interest, you are able to create a right platform for your next step. It could be your first work experience, it could be the admission to the next institution. So Ahmedabad University has all the goodies. Ahmedabad is probably the safest place I would have ever, you can do a poll. And even in COVID times, the number of active cases are very less. They are like 3,000 cases. So that's about 1 in 2,000 citizens of the state. So we'll come to that a little later. But students must not look at the city. They should look at the university. And if the university is good, and if it rings the bell in the student's mind, if it gets validated by experts in the field, that's the place where they should go. It should be Ahmedabad, it should be elsewhere.
Okay. Thank you, Parag. So I'm coming to this question that, of course, both of you talked about, Ahmedabad University, and now we have, like you mentioned, 30, 40 of the private universities are trying to change the landscape. So within those, how do we choose and go to Ahmedabad University? What is there in what Ahmedabad University is trying to do different? Uh, what I'm coming to is that, okay, I'm fine to move beyond the traditional education system, fine to move beyond the, the top government institutions. If I am fine to do that, so then how do I think about going to universities like, and again few of them to name, why to choose Ashoka University or Shiv Nadar or BML Munjal or Kriya or OP Jindal or Ahmedabad University or nearby us Flame University, Azim Premji University coming up well. So how and why, let's say, we compete only among those universities which are again doing great job. Why should we think that we choose Ahmedabad University over some of these? And I'm not talking about any of the IITs, IIMs, or our favorite Mithibai College or HR or KC and any of those, We are not talking about those. I'm talking about within your own things, which may be seen as leaders in next 10 years, 20 years, very well accepted. Why should I choose Ahmedabad University? And if I choose, what kind of student should I be? Like, which kind of student would choose Ahmedabad University? That also I would like to know that, for whom Ahmedabad University may be the best choice.
Okay, it's a great question. So there are three, four very pertinent points that must be considered. The first one being, we are known for two things mainly, from the student perspective. First is the interdisciplinarity that we drive, and second is the student engagement. Interdisciplinarity means see, no problem comes as a unidiscipline problem. If you look at any, I can give you several examples, and therefore we firmly believe that at the undergrad level, it is the best time to introduce interdisciplinarity and make the students more, broad in approach, so that they are sensitive to more disciplines than one. Second thing is, undergraduate education is all about engagement. It's extremely important to go to an institution that makes you work hard. Okay, every course that we run is run at a very, very high tangent. If you look at the course content, if you look at the pedagogies deployed, if you look at the evaluation methods used, if you look at the engagement driven through the course, is very deep. So taking one course, say a simple course of microeconomics at Ahmedabad University, the students will really have to work hard, and the learning outcomes will be absolutely, acute and sharp. So that makes them different. So 40 such courses in undergrad program ran at a very high tangent, deep engagement makes a big difference. On the surface of it, if you see a course outline of any university, they look very similar, if not identical. But the magic lies in how you run those courses. So taking one course taught by Aparajith versus another course running in history in some other city or university is very, very different experience. I'll talk about our interdisciplinarity at a later stage. So the first thing is engagement and interdisciplinarity. Second point is our faculty and student strength. Okay, we are very, very, we really work hard to attract good faculty members from all over the world. Aparajith is one example. His profile speaks for himself. He could have gone and joined any university across the globe, but he has chosen to work in Ahmedabad and at Ahmedabad University. We are very transparent about them. So if you go to the website, you will see what our faculty members do, where they come from, what are their qualifications, what are their skill criteria. Everything is very transparent. So if you go to other universities, they are pretty opaque. You click the picture and everything open. So faculty is our strength, and therefore we are very transparent about it. Student strength, you know, you learn a great deal from your peers. So if you brush your shoulders with the right ones, you end up learning much more. Okay, so this your introduction mentioned few names, and I'm very happy to share that many of our students make it to those institutions almost every year. Um, and fourth thing is it's a city campus. Okay, all the universities that you mentioned are satellite campuses. They are 40, 50, 60, 100 kilometers away from a city. So it's very different to study in an institution that is located in the heart of the city. And the entire life of a student is very different. You know, we don't talk about infrastructure. We are sitting on more than 1 million square feet of extraordinary infrastructure, but we don't put that in our strengths. I think it's more important to be in the heart of the city than having great buildings at a at a distance from any hub. So these are the 3 or 4 things that really differentiate us sharply from other similar institutions.
Hmm. Thank you, Professor Parag. So, Aparajit, you are a living example of the interdisciplinary things, right? And you graduated from, if we can call a challenger school to IITs in India, graduating from BITS Pilani. Of course, you were, humble in saying that you studied in Pilani, but we all know that what BITS Pilani stands for, and doing electrical engineering there, and then going to UK. You came here, you may have joined some university in UK, you may have maybe gone to US, or maybe in India you might have wanted to join some other institution as well. What brings you to Ahmedabad University, and why do you think that a student like you, or a student like anyone, would explore the world and then come to Ahmedabad University? And what is this interdisciplinary thing which Parag talked about? And one important aspect which he said is that this is the age to be interdisciplinary. you know so suddenly, so we are studying all subjects maybe till grade 10. Suddenly grade 11 and 12 we go anti interdisciplinary, and then we spend all our life to explore what do I want to do. So that disconnect which happens in grade 11 and 12, now how should a student see at it, and why should, so I would want you to convince in next 3-4 minutes, focusing on this interdisciplinary thing. Why shouldn't I be focused? Why I shouldn't be an electrical engineer for life?
Absolutely. So thanks a lot, Himanshu. I'll start backwards. I'll start with the interdisciplinary question, and then if we have time, I'll talk about what brings me to Ahmedabad and so on.
Right.
See, I think we need to understand first what is a discipline, right? Why do disciplines come into being? And for this, being a historian, I would take us back historically a few centuries. And if you were to look at, let's take something like science, right? Within science, of course, we have now hundreds of sub-disciplines. We have biology, chemistry, but not only that, we have nanotechnology, you have biochemistry, you can go further and further into specializations. But about 300-400 years ago, a person like Isaac Newton would not have called himself a scientist. Firstly, the word did not exist, right? So what did they call themselves? They called themselves natural philosophers. And what does this mean? A philosopher is just someone who asks questions about the world, who wants to understand how things work. And a natural philosopher is someone who applies those questions to nature, as we do, right? And it's as we go along, as the data accumulates, as the questions that we're asking become more and more complex, we start dividing knowledge the production and the seeking of knowledge into multiple disciplines for convenience and for the purpose of specialization. So different people can focus on different portions, right? So disciplines themselves don't exist in nature. They are created by us for particular purposes. Right? So when they serve that purpose, it makes sense to follow them. But there may, and there are often situations in life where the problem that we need to address or the purpose that we need to serve is not addressed by one single discipline, right? So,
Right.
so what do we do then? So let's take the case of an electrical engineer, right? Say you have to set up a hydroelectric dam on a waterfall. Right? What is the knowledge that you need? It's not only how a turbine works. It's not only how to convert potential energy into kinetic energy and then convert that into electrical energy, how you can transmit that. All that is required. But you also need to understand how is your project going to affect the socio-political environment in that site, right? Who are the people who are going to be displaced? Um, how do we do the social cost benefit accounting to show that what we're going to get out of this is more useful than the environmental or other difficulties that we're going to face as a result, right? So there are lots of different aspects to any given problem that we approach. Uh, Let me now come to my own field of study. So when I started my doctoral research, I was interested in understanding precisely this. How did engineers become such a prominent profession in India? Why is engineering such a coveted position? What was the history of this profession 100 years ago? How did Indians replace the British engineers who were there? Right? Now, to answer this question, obviously I have to understand a little bit about engineering and engineering projects. But I also have to understand the nature of history. I have to understand what was going on with the freedom struggle. I have to understand what is the nature of the economic relationship between Britain and India. I have to understand what is what are the principles of public administration, because most of these engineers were involved in the public works department and in the railways and so on, right? And I have to understand international relations. What is happening between Britain, India, and the US? What are the limitations to importing technology from different places during this time? Okay, so I think the thing that drives our learning is curiosity, and that curiosity will not be bounded by discipline. You want to solve a particular problem, when you want to become an expert at something, you need to use all the tools that you can get, and those may come from different disciplines. You may ultimately choose to become an expert in one particular thing. You may be a pianist, right? You may be a concert pianist, but you have to know what the guitarist who's accompanying you does. You have to know what the singer is doing, right? Where do you fit in a larger scheme of things? And unless you're exposed to that, you become a little narrow-minded. So that's the interdisciplinary question. On the question of why Ahmedabad, I mean, I think there are a number of reasons Parag has touched on. One of the most attractive things for me is precisely this. It's a place where really you can think out of the box. As a teacher, you have a lot of autonomy. You can design your own courses. You can do your very interesting learning experiences. You have motivated students. You have an enabling administration that allows you to do very interesting things, including the course that I run, which uses comics to teach history of science, for instance. And it's also a city that has a network of institutions and an intellectual culture which is very attractive for anyone who's interested in.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. So now, of course, you
Himanshu,
are. Yeah, yeah.
I wish
yeah,
to
Parag.
add an example to what Aparajith has mentioned. See, we run a very unique foundation program, which is a common core for all the students joining the university. So I'll just give you an example in about a couple of minutes, and it will make sense. You know how we kind of it's our belief in interdisciplinarity personified. Okay, so we run this foundation program across 4 studios, which cover 6 domains. So one of the studios is water. So I'll just give an example of one activity which we run in that studio. So students from all the disciplines come together in one section, which is like 60 students. And students from management, students from sciences, students from engineering, students from art, they come in a section of 60 students. So there is one activity of going to all the wards of Ahmedabad city. Ahmedabad is divided in 24 wards. So the 60 students are divided in 24 pairs and groups. They go to one ward each and collect a water sample. So while they collect the water sample, they also run a brief survey as to how much, okay, do they get water every day? Do they get it for 24 hours? If not, who goes and fetches the water? Um, is it the girl child or the boy? It turns out, so they do this, what is their income, what is their other background, etc. It's a small survey, 5-minute thing, and they come back. Once they come back to the university, they go to the chemistry lab and do TDS testing. Because you and I can do TDS testing after 20 minutes training. So they know what kind of water quality prevails in different waters of the city. They plot the data and then they run data analytics. And then they figure out so many things in just 2 days. So by the first half of second day, they know that there is a correlation between the incomes and TDS of water. Lower the income, higher the TDS. They discover that if there is a water issue, usually it's the girl child who goes and fetches drinking water, and therefore she doesn't go to school. They also understand that there is a correlation between the ruling government and the quality of water. So if the MLA is from the ruling government, the quality of water is better. So all these they find in just 2 days. It's a small activity, but it touches so many things. It touches water politics, it touches environment, it touches hygiene, it touches gender, it touches resource economics. And not only that, so each group has to actually present their findings to the class. So they also enhance their communication skills by, at the end of day 2. So this is just one example. We do hundreds of such things just in first year once the students join us. So this is how we drive interdisciplinarity, and it's at a really high tangent. I mean, students sometimes say that, "Sir, kitna karate ho aap hamare paas?" But once they survive this grinding for 4 years, even if they write an email to a third party, the recipient will know that these people come from a well-trained background. They just realize the level of the student even before meeting the students.
And excuse me, if I could just chip in here, sir, I would like to really congratulate you, because this is the kind of education that should be called as education. Unless and until it is wholesome and it is well rounded, you cannot call it education. I'm so thankful for the great insights that you and Dr. Ramnath have shared. So please carry on. I'm highly, highly engrossed and learning a lot from you. I'm so happy that you are speaking all these things and the teachers, principals, students are hearing about it. Because in India, the scenario needs to change. And you are doing that. Hats off to you. I also request the speakers and the moderator to kindly be a little more mindful about the mics, because there is some disturbance. So if you are not speaking at the moment, I request you to kindly keep yourselves on mute. Thank you.
thank, thank you, Dr. Jaya, for the appreciation. So now coming to, of course, we talked about the first year and the 3 years, 4 years, which we spend there. So now I would want to go a little, earlier than that. How do we get into Ahmedabad University, to do all this good stuff? Of course, what I believe is that you won't want us to go through the same rigor of preparation of the entrance test and what all goes into it. let's say I'm a student studying in grade 10 in whatever board, and maybe a student studying in grade 11 in whatever board, grade 12. I may have just completed my grade 12 from Maharashtra board or CBSE or any of that. What do I work towards, to crack admission into Ahmedabad University? Is it easy? Is it difficult? What do I work towards? So not to ask a simple question that what is the admission process?
Okay.
What do we do?
Yeah. I think that's a very nicely kind of articulated question. You see, 3 years ago, we said that looking at one data point misleads. Okay, so we moved to a holistic admission process, and we look at a mix of your academic vitality, your interests, your worldview on of Ahmedabad University and education. We also look at the extracurricular and co-curricular activities that students have done. None of the things I mentioned are a disqualifier. They only help us make the decision to, offer admission to the right ones. So one, you can't prepare for the process. So there is nothing that you need to prepare to crack the admission. Um, um, Am I audible? My
Yes,
screen
yes.
seems to be frozen for a while.
No.
Okay.
It's all clear.
Okay. So students can apply, in the previous year. So if you are looking at admission 2021, student can start applying from November of 2020. And the same is true for admission 2020. So it's a rolling admission system. So there is nothing like a last date. There is a date when one round closes and the next round opens. So it's rolling. There's nothing like last date, but early applications are preferred. So students started applying in November 2019 for admissions 2020, and even today they are applying. Certainly, when the 12th board results are out, there is a spike. So I'll divide my response from here in two parts. One is for 2020 and then 2021. So students who are looking for admissions 2020, I think they should buck up and apply maybe in the coming week. Otherwise, it may become a little late. So it's a very simple process. Just log on to the net. Statement of purpose becomes very important because we ask students to write a statement of purpose. Obviously, they can choose from 3 or 4 options. They can also do their own thing. And it is one way of, telling the university what you think. And it's a very important element of the entire process. And it should be original, it should be well thought out, it should be defendable. And we really appreciate honesty, and it is almost, it's a non-negotiable for us. So we also clearly say that we are going to run this through a plagiarism check. And if found, that student never gets shortlisted. So 10th, 11th, 12th, statement of purpose, extracurricular activities, it could be anything. Somebody may have done a Sangeet Visharad, somebody may have done a dance form, somebody may be playing at a district level. So all these things we are interested to know. Okay, so they punch in all these things. Based on all this, there is a unique point system and students get shortlisted. And then we call them for a personal interview. And we do over one of the several platforms available. And then we make an admission offer. Now coming to 2021, okay, students can apply early in the day, even before the 12th exams are over, because we have a system of giving a conditional admission. Because we don't need to wait for 12th standard result, because we have enough information to make the decision before that. So we give a conditional offer, and it varies from person to person. So we may say that, okay, your admission is done. All you have to do is get a minimum of X percentage in your 12th grade. And that depends on the other things that the student has to offer. And the admission office is very robust. We also, all faculty members are kind of accessible to all the students at all times. So, students can say that I want to interact with this particular person. Office of admission will arrange that. It could be deans, associate deans, program chairs, it could be area coordinators, it could be faculty members from any area. And that's all we do. And we run these campus tours. So you just, in the COVID world, we do a virtual one. So our students lead that. They, do a walk through the campus, and students, faculty members are strictly not allowed in that tour. Students to students. So we try to support this education decision in the best possible way. And the entire effort is to get the right ones into the university.
Right. So, as we talk on admissions, Aparajit, what a student looks at, when they have questions on the curriculum, when they have questions on, again, what we discussed, the interdisciplinary things, what way a student chooses the program, because we talk about general admission, but then how does a student choose a program? Do all students come and say, okay, I'm interdisciplinary, or how do they choose? Is there a particular column where we say, okay, I want to apply for this or that? How does that work?
So at the time of application, you can specify, I think it's up to 3 choices in order of preference. So we have 2 things that you can mention. You can mention what program you want to enter. That's the degree that you get. So it's either a BBA or a BCom or a BTech or a BA honors. And within that, you can mention what we call the major, which is basically the subject in which you get your degree. So you could say, I would like to enroll in the BA in history, or the BA in social and political sciences, or the BBA in economics, or the BBA in marketing, or the BTech in chemical engineering, and so on. Okay. So these are preferences which you specify at the time of joining, but they are not compulsory. We do have some students who enter as undeclared majors. And in some cases, there are some exceptions, of course. Moving into and out of the engineering program is a little bit complicated. But other than that, and I'm sure Parag will add to this, we have a lot of flexibility in terms of allowing a student, even as late as the end of the first year or the end of the second year, to decide to change their major or to decide to choose their major at that point. Now, how is this possible? This is possible because of a number of things. One is that the first year is highly exploratory and wide-ranging, right? So in the first year, they're doing the foundation courses that Parag mentioned. They're also doing a number of general requirements. So they're doing a data science course, they're doing a communications course, and they're doing 1 or 2 courses if they've chosen their major, which are related to their major, right? Even for students who have decided beforehand, based on their interest, that they want to major in X, Y, Z. So if I've decided that I want to major in political science, that does not mean that 100% of my courses are going to be in political science. Right? And this is where also the interdisciplinarity comes in. So basically what it means is that 50% of my credits have to be directly related to political science. Okay. There's another around 30 credits, which would be, so let's say 120 credits is what we normally do for an undergraduate program. So out of that, 60 credits would be related to your major. Another 30 would be related to what we call general education requirements. So we require that you have a grounding in various different disciplines, right? So that GER, as we call them, are designed in such a way. And in addition to that, you also have some credits to play with in terms of exploring your own interests. Now, that could be to take more courses related to your specialization, or it could be to explore still further. And we have a wide variety of things to explore. You could explore entrepreneurship, you could explore computer programming, you could take languages like Japanese or Urdu or Persian or German. So there's really a lot that you can do within your 4-year 120 credit system. So the answer is there's really a lot of flexibility, much more than you would have in any other place. In my undergrad, for instance, everything was determined by your ranking and your cutoff. And if you wanted to move disciplines after 1 year, there would be at the most 1 or 2 slots, and you had to be a perfect CGPA to even consider moving, right? So that's not the kind of system that we operate. We do have a lot of room for people to explore their interests. And we've had cases already, like, we had very recently a student who joined for the physics program, but has decided to move to social and political sciences. And I think that's really interesting. That's a sign that he's really exploring and making up his own mind.
So, moving on with this, we talk about the kind of education, the kind of access, and what would I look at when I go to Ahmedabad University. On the other side, we have, and especially it's always relevant for Indian families, of course, but it becomes a little more of a choice or a forced choice for some parents right now. I'm moving towards the financial aid and the scholarship options which are available at Ahmedabad University. Uh, I know that you have merit scholarships and the need-based scholarships, and a very surprising fact which I got to know from Ahmedabad University and interacting with none other than the Vice Chancellor at the university, that even he visited some families to assess the financial aid need, just to fulfill that no student should miss the access to such a mission and movement which you are involved in. To keep it simple, how do we get scholarships and up to what?
Okay. See, first and foremost, um, if you compare the fees with the institutions that you mentioned, it is already subsidized, because our sponsoring trust, which is Ahmedabad Education Society, it's almost a 9 decades old trust. They have impacted the education landscape of Gujarat in this 90 years. And we are strictly not for profit, and therefore the fees are already subsidized. But our policy is that we believe in merit based and means blind admission. So if a student applies and gets an offer from us, fees should not be an issue. So to put a number to it, any student with a family income of 8 lakhs or less will get a waiver of tuition fees, ranging from anything between 50 to 100%. And what you mentioned is, in some cases, our team visits the student's home also, even after approving. There is a home visit before, but even after approving, if we find some, if we feel the need of, doing more, we have gone to 130, 40% also. Not just covering the tuition, but even the hostel and few other things also. In some cases, if you knock off the student is not able to afford the hostel, but lives about 15 kilometers away from the university, because homes in the heart of the city are costly, then we have gone to cover the students' transport also. So it's about the merit and not the means. So if a student is good and gets an offer from us, fees should not be an issue. Merit scholarship is to kind of attract, excite the bright students. So students doing very well in their grade 12 also get anything like 1 lakh rupees off or 100% waiver of the fees, but that's very competitive. So if I do say, so but 2% of the students get that.
Hmm.
But that number is not small. So if I do 400 admissions, I'm talking about, not two, but more, sorry. If I do 400 admissions, I'm talking about 30 students getting merit scholarships. Um, And there's an ongoing merit scholarship also. Right? So even if you perform well, forget 12th grade. If you come inside the university and perform well, there are many kinds of scholarships and kind of appreciations in terms of extraordinary performer, outstanding performer, dean's fellow, and then there is always a merit scholarship at every entry year. So I think if the merit is there, means should not be an issue. Long and short of it is that.
That's so good to know, Parag. So now I open it to other questions. Of course, I raised a few questions which were coming my way. Now, as we move towards, so we are at 11:53 right now. So if we have the questions coming in, either directly on the chat box, or the marketing team is available there, or if coming to the principal. So any of the questions we can cover now. Dr. Jaya, you want to proceed on that?
Yes. So first of all, let me thank you for a very insightful and informative session. I appreciate all the work that's happening at your institutions with these kind of people at the helm of affairs. It's excellent, the work that you're doing. It's very different from what I have been hearing about Indian universities. So, congratulations on that, first of all. Now, I would like to understand, see, you take care of the students till the time they are with you. You also have to pave the way for making them choose further course in their life, right? So, what do you suggest and how do you guide? How do you guide them and prepare them for their future careers? What kind of guidance would you give to them?
Okay, so
What
this happens.
do you have for that? Do you
Yes.
have systems in place for that?
Okay, so this happens in 2-3 ways. One is every student is assigned a faculty mentor. So during their undergraduate journey, this is like the person to go to. But let me be very frank. Sometimes students find more comfort with other faculty members than the ones they are assigned to them. Because they are assigned to them at the point of entry. But after 1 or 2 semesters, they get to know faculty members from different areas and different subjects. They take their courses, they do well, they don't do well, and they are so. The point I'm trying to make is all faculty members are equally accessible to all the students. There's nothing like bureaucracy that okay, this is your assigned mentor, you can't go anywhere else. Assigned mentor is only to create initial comfort. And to put them on that consulting track, that in case of need you should seek help, you should ask. So that's one. Second thing is academic advising unit also functions. Once because we have this very student friendly system of undeclared majors, so students can enter the university without declaring a major. They can declare a major and then change the major up to the end of 4th semester. So somebody has to validate that choice. So again, there will be program chairs and major advisors. So if a student puts a major change request or a major freeze request, somebody has to agree to that. So it should not be abrupt, or it should not be because somebody else is doing. So that's the second level of academic advising. Third is we have a very active career development center. So we have a team of 6 or 7 people only working on career development. So they have all kinds of sessions, and some of them are specific and mandatory to attend, whereas some are open for all. So depending on the stage at which student is. So if they are in the outgoing year, there will be a CV building workshop, which is they have to attend. Okay, it's compulsory. So who will take it? So last year, the head of LinkedIn India delivered a workshop on Rock Your CV. So there are a number of such workshops which prepare them for the career and which prepare them for the next stage. There is a career week where students, where people from different institutions come, career counselors come, some people from international offices of various universities in India also come. Sometimes people from US consulate come and speak that, okay, these are the 20 programs that we run, why don't you apply? So it's pretty robust at faculty level, at career development center level. Lots of leaders come and speak. We have a speaker, at least one speaker every week. And these are like open invites. So if I'm interested in marketing and somebody is going to speak on digital marketing, everybody is invited. So obviously they have to register, and then we have a policy that if you sign up, you have to show up. That's the culture, and you have to show up before time. So all these things are there, and sometimes the students are overwhelmed with the support. I would also say that we make them fill out forms and to get the right data. So I think there is adequate support, and there are students who really like it. There are some who say that too much support. So I think they'll get what they wish to know. Then there are a few faculty members who are very good with scholarship applications.
Wow.
Who would apply to Rhodes Scholarship, and many other scholarships are there. So they keep coming. So sometimes it is faculty led. Sometimes students find something and they take the advice. So there are people to go to and they will guide. So there is guidance and help at every stage. If people students want to do things, they will get.
Thank you, sir. It seems like a very comprehensive structure of guidance, thorough guidance that is needed for students for their future careers. And I think it answers a lot of the queries that I had in my mind through all the answers that you both have provided. I would also like you to highlight a few achievers from your institutions, if you could, and in which fields, where they are, maybe the brightest stars, a few of them.
Yeah, there are several stories. We can have a separate session on that, but I can, share 2 or 3 of them.
Yes, sir.
So our engineering students have gone to Carnegie Mellon, Georgia Tech for their masters. Every year we send at least 7 to 8 students to the top 4 IIMs, which is A, B, and C, and L. Okay, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Kolkata, and Lucknow. And then we send another 20 to 25 to the newer IIMs, because today we have 21.
Yes.
And then another 30 to 40 students to the next 20 business schools, which is like XLRI and Jamnadas Bajaj and SP Jains of the world.
So this is out of what number are we talking about?
Our convocating batch is about 900.
900.
900. So I'm still going on.
Right.
So then some students choose to do, 20% of them do think of getting a work experience before going on for their masters.
Right.
Many companies come to the campus. Some of them, sometimes Career Development Center facilitates application, because not all companies do campus recruitment. So PWs of the world and KPMGs of the world, they have an online process, and once they are shortlisted, then either they come to us or the students go to them, or they do a call on Skype or something. So L&T Construction recruited 6 undergrads last year, because they ran a new unique program of taking undergrad students, paying them 4,25,000 rupees per year, and after 2 years sponsoring them to the master's program. So that's the first time kind of a program, and they would have done it to several institutions. So all kinds of students are there, and they make it to great institutions within and outside India. And if they seek employment to gain work experience before their masters, they do make it to good companies. Students have different priorities. Some students feel that they should get the job in the same PIN code. Some students think that they must relocate for a good opportunity to learn, so they get better options, the ones who wish to relocate. And then some students say, I want to consider education as one installment of life, and they are very, very spot on, and they give their CAT while they are in 4th year. and then immediately, as soon as the undergrad gets over, they make it to a institution of higher learning. So all kinds of students are there. It's a very diverse pool, but they make it to good institutions, which we are very proud of.
It's absolutely amazing to understand what all efforts you are putting to ensure that the children get the right kind of uh, guidance and placements as per their talent and aptitude and desires. It's
I'd like
really
to,
amazing to know that. Thank you so much. Himanshu ji, are we done with all the questions from your end? You are on mute.
Yeah, Aparajith wanted to mention something.
yeah,
Aparajith,
yeah,
before you mention that,
yeah.
of course, you want to add. What I would want is that, of course, Parag mentioned so many things. So there are students who are looking at studying masters abroad, and there are students who want to work here or somewhere, whatever. And to highlight your degrees and studies, you went to Oxford and Imperial College London. What do you think that if I wanted to go to Oxford and Imperial for my masters and PhD, would Ahmedabad University would be a good option for my bachelor's?
Undoubtedly,
Certainly.
undoubtedly, because I surprised myself by making it to those programs because I didn't really have the background training which I see that our students are now getting. Right, I applied for a history program, although it was history of science and tech, so it was related to my undergrad. But I never had the kind of systematic undergraduate training that our students now are getting, primarily because I did it in a different subject. But even otherwise, I didn't have the interdisciplinary exposure to the same extent. And the kind of rigor that our students are getting now in their undergraduate training, whether it's through an exposure to how research is done, or an exposure to how people trained in different places across the world, different educational traditions, how they think. So we have people who've done their PhDs in the best institutions in India, some in the US, some in Europe, and these are all very different traditions. But all of these things are played out in the classroom, and there's almost no course or the very few courses where we're going to be teaching entirely from a single textbook. Mostly we are asking students to assemble readings on their own. I mean, we tell them which readings, but they're all from different places. They're a chapter from a book, a journal article, a newspaper article. Go look up the internet archives, find something, get it all together, analyze them critically. Now, this is the kind of approach that we're doing. And I see absolutely no reason why, with that kind of training, you would not be well placed to get in to a good program abroad. The other thing I want to mention is that a lot of good programs abroad, we select ourselves out of them by not applying or by assuming that we won't get in. I find that a lot of master's programs, of course, it depends a lot on the subject, but a lot of them are open to people from different backgrounds and actually want people from different backgrounds to make their class more diverse. And if they, if the first step is to give it a shot. Of course, this involves some amount of money in terms of application fees and all of these things. So it's not, it's not an unlimited thing. You have to be a little strategic about how you do it. But I think at the same time, we need to do a little bit of research, find out, what have the previous classes looked like? Is this a kind of course for which a particular prerequisite is required? So obviously, there's no point being a history student and applying for an engineering master's, which requires certain kinds of math training as a prerequisite, right? So obviously, we need to do that level of a check. But what happens also as an institution matures is that you have previous batches who have done this. So you can look up to them and you know how to go about it. So I think we've had one of our alumni from, I think it's the BBA program, who went on to do a master's in contemporary Indian studies at King's College at the famous India Institute. He's now a very prominent Sharik Laliwala. He writes in The Wire. He's a research associate with Ashoka University. And there are many such. There's somebody who's gone to the University of Vienna, somebody's gone to London School of Economics. But the point I wanted to add earlier, which I'll come to now, is also that students are also doing interesting things while they're still with us. So just yesterday, I got a mail from one of our students who's just finished the first year in the BA program, who started a very interesting current affairs and political commentary website along with his friends, and it's really at a high standard. We have students who are starting up, companies with our venture studio, which is a kind of incubator on campus. And so we have a number of such examples also. So people who are already quite keen on getting things off the ground while they're doing their studies. So there's there are different personality types, obviously, and there are options for all of them.
I missed giving specific examples, which I'll give. So I'll give you 4 examples with names. One of them is Rahul Agarwal, who was our BCom student, and he went to IIM Ahmedabad and got a gold medal there. So he was the youngest gold medalist in the history of IIM Ahmedabad. Today he's working in Bangalore with a boutique investment firm called Bridge Capital. It is founded by alumnus of IITs and IIMs. Very, very interesting boutique investment firm. Second example is a BBA student called Sadhna, who was always very keen on communication and mass media and other things. So she went to MICA, and today she is working with Sony Pictures. Then we have another BCom student called Jinit Daria, who completed his chartered accountancy. And then ended up giving CAT and made it to IIM Bangalore, and he got a gold medal in IIM Bangalore. Wow. Obviously, Sharik Laliwala is one who went to King's College and is really already, he has emerged as someone in the field of history and media, political science especially. The fourth example is Ruchi Muchala, who was our BBA student and then went to IIM Lucknow and now is with Amazon in Bangalore. There is a student called Aishani Sheth who did our BBA program and then then she also interned at our Office of Admissions, and then she gained a couple of years of work experience in Blackstone Group at Bombay, financial services. And she made it to Columbia's 2-year MBA program. And only 3 people from India made it to that program in that year, and she's one of them. So I mean, we have several stories, but there's a limitation of time. Otherwise, we can have a separate session on stories. I mean, I have many of them.
Thank you for sharing a few of those stories that stand out, and it really gives an idea about what the other students have to achieve in their life. Could I take this as an opportunity to close the session, Himanshu ji, if we are done with the questions?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Jaya. So you can proceed with the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are really grateful to Dr. Ramnath and Dr. Patel for spending their Saturday morning and throwing light on the wonderful work that their institution, the university, is doing there in Ahmedabad and how the children are making them proud. Thank you for giving a very comprehensive idea of how to apply, what courses to opt for, why should one look for joining your institutions in Ahmedabad. Thanks to Mr. Himanshu for probing and for taking the best of the information from both of you. And we look forward to an ongoing association. We would really want more understanding on interdisciplinary approach to be brought at the level of schools. And if it really suits you, I would request for a formal session which can be attended by school leaders, where you can guide teachers and principals on how to bring in that approach right from the primary level, that is the school level, because this is something very interesting and it is a need of the hour. We want a child to develop as a complete individual, not just having an idea of one particular domain of education. It was very inspiring to listen to both of you. Thank you so much for gracing this platform. Thank you, Himanshu ji. for all that you do, all the wonderful work that you do, and wishing the best of luck to your institutions and to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Thank you
Bye.
so much.